your background in terms of your doctorate is in New Testament studies, right? So your background is in that. And so half of it is, hey, we need to extend empathy and love to these people. We need to not otherize them and discard them. And then the other half is almost like an apologetic for a Christian ethic.
Yes. And I'm not a debater. I'm not an apologist like you are, but I get questions all the time. So in fact, the book that just came out or is coming out, Does the Bible Support Same-Sex Marriage? It is me responding to all the counter arguments to the traditional view. So
what are some of those counter arguments?
Like,
there's 21 in the book.
21 in the book.
Yeah. What are the most popular? We don't have to go over all 21.
One of the most popular ones is that when the New Testament writer, specifically Paul, prohibits same-sex sexual relationships, the only kind of same-sex relationship that was available in the first century were relationships of power and abuse and older men on younger boys. And
he's really condemning monogamous, covenantal same relationship.
Right. Yeah. That one it used to be popular among scholars till they realized the data doesn't really support it. But I still hear it.
As if they did not have monogamous heterosexual relationships in antiquity.
Well, and to be fair, when it comes to male same-sex relationships, if you look at Greco-Roman literature, you look at the environment, the overwhelming majority were between men of power differences, master slave, older man, younger boy. The majority are, but there's exceptions. Well, number one, there's exceptions to that. Number two, female same relationships were the opposite. It was between consenting adults. So in Romans 1, Paul leads with female same relationships and then says likewise the men. So the fact that he also prohibits female same relationships shows that we can't be exclusively thinking of domineering, kind of abusive. And there's nothing in Paul's language. He isn't concerned about age differences when he talks about these relationships. So
and then I've also heard, and it's Romans 1, and he says it's shameful.
Yeah.
In the same way that it is shameful for a man to have long hair. That's the word that they're using. So he's not saying it's a sin. He's just saying, it's shameful. That's an argument I've heard.
Yeah, that's right, because he does bring in nature when it comes to long hair in 1 Corinthians 11.
Right.
So that's one argument. Another one is that, one of the ones that comes up is like, well, what about like polygamy in the Old Testament, or like this whole idea of a biblical marriage is kind of super messy all over the Bible, So like why pick on this one or whatever? But it's kind of like a red herring a little bit. It's kind of like, well, it's messy everywhere. So, but I'm like, well, yeah, but if you go back to creation, Genesis 1 and 2, yes, even polygamy was a departure from the creational design. That's Jesus's point in Matthew 19, right?
Right.
From divorce was allowed or whatever, because of the hardness of your heart. But from the beginning, it was not so. Like Jesus's ethic goes back to the creational design. So that's what we need to do. Follow Jesus's example. So love is love is an argument. Probably the most popular one isn't the traditional view of marriage harmful toward people? And that's probably the longest response because I wanted to look at both the logic of the argument and also even like sociologically, because people often cite studies of, to try to prove that. So
saying traditional view of marriage, I believe in a one man, one woman relationship covenant. Everything else is out. Friends with benefits are out. Being married in your heart is out. Telling
polyamory,
you, God saying it's okay for you to sleep with your girlfriend is out. All of it is out. All of it is out.
You want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. All right? Peace.
And they say that holding to a one man, one woman marriage is harmful towards same-sex marriage.
Yes. It's harmful towards somebody who is attracted to the same sex and is trying to follow Jesus. Like somebody who's exploring Christianity, is in a Christian environment, maybe they're committed to Jesus, that if they're told that they cannot marry somebody and have somebody matches their orientation, then that's harmful. And I give several responses to that. One of the things it kind of does though is it kind of resurrects purity culture type stuff that like until I get married and have sex, like I just can't be a happy person, a fulfilled person. So I kind of addressed that a little bit in that argument that, because to say it's harmful means, let's just broaden that logic out. It means if I'm not married to the person I desire, I can't live a flourishing, happy life. Now, purity, we definitely sent that message loud and hard.
Yeah, we tried that
throughout purity culture, and we messed a lot of people up.
Yep.
So yeah, and the main question isn't, does this seem like a harmful thing? The main question really is it true? Did the Creator who designed us to be sexual beings, what is his design, and how do we know? So try to take us back to Scripture.
Yeah. What do you feel is? Do you think the argument just strictly from natural law is one of the strongest arguments? Obviously, what Jesus says is ultimately the final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The argument. Romans 1, hard to argue with Romans 1 when there's specific acts being discussed, right? But I think just the practicality of us reproducing as a species to continue our species sounds like a fairly straightforward, hey, natural law just points us in this direction. And that seems like the strongest argument. And I have a rebuttal to it that I'll share with you later. But what do you think about that, just on the surface?
So a lot of Catholic scholars have done great work.
Yeah, I was thinking St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah. And one more recently, Ryan T. Anderson is a conservative Catholic scholar who argues for traditional marriage without quoting the Bible, like it's all natural law, and it's a good argument. I think for me, I do think that special revelation resonates with general revelation, that God's revealed design and the Word will also resonate with creation. We see this in wisdom literature, especially where they're drawing on creation. Go to the ant, you sluggard. You can see that God has wired creation in a way to reflect his design. So I agree with all that. For me, in terms of like an argument, I do see reliance simply on natural law. There's too many exceptions to the rule that make it difficult, I think, for an argument, because I think a lot of the intelligent, more progressive people that I talk to, they always point out exceptions, infertility, marriage and old age, or like, should we even have contraceptions, so there's always these kind of like exceptions to the rule that I think can, they just kind of throw a wrench sometimes if you're relying on natural law solely as an argument. Not
solely, but just looking at the design of the body parts. And just go, it looks like this was designed in a way. Oh, and a baby comes. And obviously not every time the act happens, a baby has to come, but it's pretty straightforward. The only rebuttal I've really heard to that, obviously there's the, what you pointed out, which is like, well, what about old age? What about this? Well, it's, the plumbing is still the same, even if there's not a baby that comes with that. But I've heard like, well, it's not in nature all the time. There's these animals that exhibit these other things. Yeah. And I'm like, but that doesn't, humans are different.
Are we going to take our sexual ethic from watching animals?
Right. Because animals do all kinds of weird stuff. And some animals eat their own poop. There's all kinds of bizarre things that happen with animals. So I've heard that as like but there's these kind of animals that exhibit this as well, and I'm like, but that's a little different than humans,
But so I would agree that the human body does reflect God's design as revealed in Scripture that resonates with the traditional view of marriage. It is those exceptions to the
All right, guys, we're going to go over to our Patreon exclusive. If you want the full version of this interview, there'll be an exclusive section on Patreon. I'm going to ask Preston 2 more questions. One is going to be about maps, which is way too spicy to talk about on YouTube. If you guys don't know what maps are, you could Google it, okay? And the second
or don't.
Or don't. And the second one is going to be about him kind of having Matt Chandler's back in the middle of all the controversy with Matt Chandler a little while ago, all right? So meet us over on Patreon for the rest of this conversation.
Hey, if you want to see the extended version of this podcast, completely unedited, consider partnering with us in our online community for as little as $5 a month. In exchange, you get access to these podcasts as we stream them live before anyone else gets to see them. You get access to the replay of our daily after party streams, access to our private Discord server, access to discount codes, and so much more. So help us continue contextualizing the gospel through media, podcasting, and YouTube, and partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Also, be sure to follow us on the Spotify podcast app, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We're constantly posting content there that I think you'll find extremely valuable. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.